What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and Most of All Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
Today, we're going to be covering the habits that got me a six-pack in 90 days. So what inspired this episode? I'm going to go way back. I can't remember the exact moment. I remember at one point I was watching that Captain America movie, and he went into the little chamber. If you know what I'm talking about, this will resonate. If you don't, you won't. But he was really skinny, and he came out jacked with a six-pack, and I was just like, that's it. I want to get in shape. I want to have a six-pack. This was very, very early, pre-high school, and I just remember kind of being like, I want to build a strong body. I was kind of at that point, and I immediately thought, how can I get a six-pack fast? And like most people, although I was a kid, I do find most people carry this into adulthood. You'll just immediately start doing crazy ab exercises, everything you can imagine, and kind of hope the six-pack will be there the next day. I remember thinking, maybe if I drink a ton of water, that'll do it. I don't know where that logic came from. Once again, I was a kid, but the point holds true. Usually when we first want a six-pack, we want to do it quickly, we want to do it fast, we want a solution, we want a pill, we want a hack, we want a tip, a trick. And right away, I can assure you, you're going to be looking in the mirror and you're going to be left disappointed day after day by having this mentality. So the first thing you need to do, I know this title is a little baity because it says in 90 days, but you really need to understand a six-pack will take time. It might take longer than 90 days. It's absolutely doable to do in 90 days. It just depends where you are. If you're starting at 300 pounds and you should realistically be at a weight of 160 or 170, we're not going to be able to achieve that in 90 days. Whereas if you're someone who's very skinny or you're someone who's like maybe 15 to 20% body fat, this can absolutely be done, and you can 110% use these tips to indeed get a six-pack. But everyone is so different, and you need to be really aware of your situation. And you do need to understand, if you want to maintain a lean physique, to have a six-pack, to have noticeable muscle, this is something we're going to have to really rework your identity. You're going to have a big mindset shift, and you're going to really have to start by saying, how much body fat do you need to lose? And if you have no concept of your body fat, there are a few fantastic ways to find out. So a very easy way is a lot of scales will calculate body fat. What I'll say about this, and a precaution I will give you, is this is not by any means 100% accurate. For me, this is incredibly off because it's just going to use electrostim if even. Some will just use preset calculations. You put in an app, so it'll say, okay, Josh is 212 pounds and he's 6'1", 6'2", so therefore he is XYZ body fat, or they'll use a BMI, and that's going to shoot me really high. That's not going to take into account that I'm 212 pounds of muscle and I actually do have a very low body fat. Saying so, if that scale says I'm 22%, let's say, and I start noticing that number going up, there's a chance I'm going in the wrong direction. Whereas if I see that number going down, that could indicate I'm going in the right direction. So this would be a very basic attempt at finding out this info. The next level up would be like an in-body scan or a bod pod at your gym. A lot of gyms do offer this now. These are a little bit higher grade and they will use electrostim. Still not going to be perfect, similar to the first, but it can give you a base metric to understand where you're at and where you want to work to. I think the best metric of all is take a photo of yourself, search body fat men, body fat women, whichever one's applicable to you. Look at Google Images and see and be honest with yourself which one you kind of fall into. And be honest. It's tempting to say, oh, I'm in this lower criteria, but you'll be able to get a general idea of the range you're at, and that'll kind of indicate to you how much you need to lose to see abs. Most people, for men, are not going to be seeing abs till below 15% or so. For women, you do need to get quite lean, but not anywhere as lean. I believe it's usually like 20, 22%. You can start to see some development of abs, and just know, no matter who you are, you do have abs. Everyone has abs. It's a muscle of your body. We all have muscles. And that's why everyone jokes, I have a six-pack. It's just under all this fat. People always make that joke, which is hilarious. It's like the typical barbecue joke. But the truth is, you do have it under there. Now, some people have better genetics with more visible, bulky abs. And other people, their abs won't show till they're very, very lean. Unfortunately, we can't know this till we get you lean and we find out. With the exception, if you're someone who's very skinny, but you don't have a ton of development, you could be that exception where you could just start training super hard, really working movements and strengthening your abs just like any other muscle so they can pop a little bit more and so you can have more of a visible abs. Saying that though, you're really going to have to identify where you are, and then you're going to need to make change. You're going to have to change your identity, and you're going to really need to be aware of what habits you need to start to change to make this happen. But chances are you're where you're at because of the habits day in, day out you've done. How you eat, how you train, how you approach your stress, how you manage all of these different factors. So what we're going to need to do in the entire title of this episode is changing these habits to push you forward. And Kyle's going to take it away with a big shock factor that might absolutely rattle you. And go away, Kyle.
So believe it or not, clean eating is not the answer. I know a lot of times people think, okay, I've got to get abs. I'm just going to start eating absolutely clean and then that's it. A lot of people struggle with this because they don't realize how challenging it ends up being, right? Because they end up just eating absolutely whatever they want, but then they just eat clean. And there's so many things that need to take place to get towards those abs, but I really, really encourage you to log your food and to do it every single day, no matter what, even if you're going out, even if it's a challenging day, even if you're unsure, whatever it is, but being super consistent with being in a calorie deficit and logging your food is such an important metric and such an important thing to help you get those abs. And once again, with the whole clean eating side of things, that just so many people struggle because they just end up eating fruit and just whatever it is, like nothing wrong with fruit, but they just end up eating a bunch of different things without keeping track, and then they're not in a calorie deficit. And of course, it is harder to get out of a deficit when you are eating super healthy, but believe it or not, I've seen so many times this happen. Walnuts, like all these extra things who are just, it's just adding on tons of calories and you're not actually in a deficit, so you're not going to be able to get abs there. So you really have to make sure you're having a high protein diet. You're not having cheat days, so you're doing it every single day. And I can't stress that enough because so many people are doing 5 days on, 2 days off, or they're doing 7 days on, then 7 days off. And I really think one of the best ways to approach it is to do a flexible dieting approach, which just means you're having 80% healthy whole foods. And then if you want to incorporate 10 to 20% or whatever it is, fun foods, it's going to be more of a realistic approach. So when you strive for this goal, it's going to get you there because you're going to be sustainable versus just feeling the need to do tons of cheat days and just on and off days. And that's where a lot of people do struggle getting those abs.
Yeah, so I did all those things wrong: the water, the million, the crunches, trying to eat every healthy food. I made just about every mistake, and this is what most people do, saying, oh, it's the sugar, it's the this, that I'm eating that's causing my problems. But the more you really reaffirm that identity and understand, I need to log, I need to have protein, I need to consistently lose weight after each week, this is where you actually will see progress. And losing fat and just bring your body fat down is the only surefire way to see abs. Like, I'm going to give you a bunch of fun little bonus tricks that are really appealing and fun because they're not as hard as actually committing yourself to this journey. But I assure you right now, like, if you're not someone who's hungry enough to actually do that work and see that change, it's not going to happen. It's just a metric of how bad do you want it. It needs to become a non-negotiable. It just needs to be something you get done no matter what. And I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but there are a lot of different examples of this in our life. Maybe it's like getting something ready for your children, being there for a friend, whatever a non-negotiable is for you, like meeting a work deadline. This needs to be something you take with the same regard. And it's not to say you need to be perfect. You will make mistakes. There will be a lot of times you mess up, but you need to just learn from them and keep pushing forward and be consistent. And by doing this, I promise you, you can 100% see abs in 90 days. It really just becomes a number game. Like, if I took a client with 100% adherence, I could do crazy things for them really fast. And of course, there's a more optimal way of doing things. There's a suboptimal quick way of doing things. Once again, if you need to lose a ton of weight, you wanted to see abs, I'd say, okay, you could do crunches, you could do all these ab movements 3 times a week in the mornings, and we're not going to eat only 1 day a week. We're only going to eat protein just to make sure you don't die. You'd see abs really quick. You'd look horrible. You'd be the world's most miserable person. You'd be starving to death, and you'd never be able to adhere to it. And that's just ridiculous. But a very natural way where you can still enjoy the foods you like, you can still have control, is actually tracking your calories, getting into your protein, being sure you're in a deficit, and moving forward. Everything else does not matter. Abs are made in the kitchen, not the gym. We said this for a reason. You can do the best ab protocol ever. You can have the strongest core stability. You could just be an absolute monster with that. If you're 20% body fat as a man, your abs, unless you have some crazy genetics, are just not going to show. It's just not going to happen. So that's where you really need to focus on what the mover is. You can train insane, but it's just not going to work if you're not eating right and in a deficit and lean enough to see abs. And to really see abs, like to see your lower abs, have veining in your abs, you do need to get quite lean. But you can have a tight core where you can see ab definition quite reasonably. Like I said, that 15, 12-ish% range for men, for women 2022, somewhere in there. So do keep that in mind. But now that we have that locked in, another fun little bonus one that I like to do that actually really did make a big difference for me is bracing. So it's very likely you're sitting right now just with your stomach out, you're not intentional to it. One habit I actually did make from a really young age, and I remember doing this, I think it was like grade 7, I think is when I started bracing my abs, and I swear it was something that really helped me. Anytime I sat, I just made a point to squeeze my abs, to have a tight core, to breathe and talk through that core. I'm not trying to punish myself with it, but I do have control. They are contracted. And I do find this actually makes a big difference and is actually a lot better for posture, for everything, than just letting your stomach lay out flat, loose, and really pumping downward. And you can even see, for those of you that are on video, if I'm braced, I'm sitting up a little taller, I'm good. Whereas if I let my stomach out, I kind of fall forward. And it's very natural, like to just let your stomach fall out. But by making this change, it's a really hard one to cue. Like you could change your phone wallpaper just to say brace or something. And it's something you'll just start doing subconsciously. Like I always do it. I put no thought into it. Like I said, I did that leg work way, way back, but that's a foundation I put in so long ago. I don't even know how long that'd be now. Ridiculous amount of time. But it's something that did really, really well for me. So that is a really great benefit. On top of that, once you are in a deficit, be in a good ab training regimen. We're not going to get too into that today, but understand the different ways your abs work and different planes they work. So you're not going to get a lot of lower ab work from many movements. So it's really fantastic to do a leg raise or a captain chairs leg raise. That's a quite easy way to do it. You can get really funky and do like ab window washers, but those are really, really hard and a little bit more complex. But just definitely understand that. Understand the rotary component of abs with things like Russian twists, other great things like that. And then of course, crunches are going to work your big general area of your abs, your upper two abs, which will show quite naturally anyways. So you can get really in the weeds with this, but if you get lean, that'll cover most of your bases. I've had really solid abs doing no ab training. You get a lot of ab work as well from doing heavy compound work, like doing squats and deadlifts. So do keep that in mind as well. And by actually bracing through movements and doing that properly, that will develop your abs quite awesome. But another easy thing that's helped me stay lean, actually I'll let Kyle take over here.
Just consistent breakfast is absolutely game changing. So you'll notice a lot of the things that we come back to ends up being about nutrition. And it is unfortunate. A lot of times people will go right into the gym and then just do a ton of these different machines for abs thinking, hey, this is going to be it. This is what's going to help me get there. And then just not really take into consideration any of these different things. But for us, like, the consistent breakfast is huge. Getting high protein, very nutritious. Like it's the best way to just start off your day. It leads to so many better decisions afterwards. It fills you up. And you may think like, how do some of these things actually get there? But I'm telling you, like having a consistent breakfast, having better staple foods where you just consistently have it. It fits within your macros. It helps you become satiated. It helps you stay in a deficit. Like these are the things that's going to make such a big difference. So even the other day I posted, simple, but we've been saying Greek yogurt for the last few years. Greek yogurt with some granola, with lots of berries, and just it's an amazing staple, an amazing way to start the day. And it's not a secret, right? It's just something that makes such a big difference in terms of your momentum for the rest of the day. And it really does change things. So I really encourage you to spend some time thinking, what are my staples going to be? And how am I going to easily be able to hit my calories to be in this calorie deficit? And it makes such a big difference. So I just wanted to share that as well.
Yeah, just like doing little things like this takes a lot of the guesswork out. Like if you have these staple foods, consistent breakfast, it just takes a lot of that concern of like, what am I going to eat? What's healthy? And just for me, like a no-brainer, every morning I know I'm having such a quality breakfast. I do the same more or less with lunch, and then dinner will change a little bit. And this still gives me a lot of just a really good structure to maintain a really healthy diet, to really hit my macros, to be at a good place, and to stay lean, because a lot of people can get abs. It's keeping abs. It's very, very hard. And I wouldn't really recommend anyone be super, super lean. I think a great rule of thumb is to get really lean, take a ton of photos, and then balance at a more reasonable range. So I'm talking like sub 8%, you will feel the effects. You're going to be lethargic. You're not going to have as good pumps. There is quite a toll that comes alongside that. And you think you want that, but that's why people usually are only at that amount, that kind of level of leanness for a stage. But everyone has different tolerances. And the only way you can really know is by getting there. If this seems like a lot and you just want me to do all the work for you, the great news is on Monday, this coming Monday, we are doing our biggest challenge yet, our Fall Back into Fitness challenge. And over the 60 days, we're going to be doing a challenge with the 2 phases. So the first is going to be removing vices, and the second is going to be a growth phase. And if you're looking to get abs, I guarantee you I can do that for you as long as you're at a reasonable level. By having a coach on your side to put you on the best training regimen, to really explain nutrition, to do your macros for you, to really just explain and give you the blueprint you need to see results, as well as the accountability to make sure you follow through it. This is your chance. And the other great news is we have thousands of dollars in prizes, and it's going to just be an incredible, great time. We're going to be doing weekly live streams, so you're going to get all the benefits of being a one-on-one client, plus all the bonuses that goes alongside this. And once again, we're going to be extending our t-shirt offer from Monday. So if you sign up, you're going to get the first edition special t-shirts, our first quote t-shirts. We've been wanting to do these for years, so there's going to be motivational quotes on them. We haven't fully decided which ones yet. We're going to have some voting in our private coaching Facebook group, as well as some voting on our Instagram story. So if you aren't following us there, make sure you do. And then they're going to be available as prizes for contestants first and foremost, those who finish. And then they're also going to potentially be available after in other ways, but I can't say for sure. But if you want to be the first one to get them, sign up for this challenge, do yourself the favor, and we're going to reward you for committing this fall and moving closer to your goals. So DM us on Instagram with the keyword challenge, and we look forward to helping you out. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I look forward to hearing about your incredible 6-packs that are soon to come.